He had just woken up. Same routine, same habits. But that morning, something felt off. Within minutes, his life changed forever. Most people over 70 make the same silent mistakes every single morning and have no idea they're slowly hurting themselves. But today, you'll learn what really happens in the first hour after waking up and why avoiding just one of these habits could add years to your life. Forget what you thought was normal. This might just shock you. He had just opened his eyes. The soft light of morning crept through the curtains, and for a brief moment, everything seemed peaceful. But without thinking twice, he flung the blanket aside and sat up quickly, eager to start his day. That simple, automatic movement, a move he's repeated for over 70 years, wasn't as harmless as it seemed. For many senior citizens, that sudden rush from horizontal to vertical can trigger a cascade of issues, especially when the body hasn't quite caught up to the brain's urgency. In old age, the body needs time to recalibrate upon waking. Blood pressure takes a moment to normalize, and jumping out of bed without allowing this adjustment can cause lightheadedness, dizziness, or even fainting. And what happens when you faint at 73? It's not like at 30, you don't just pop back up. The risks multiply. One slip, one fall, and suddenly your entire routine, your independence, even your confidence, is shaken. That's the harsh truth about healthy aging. It rewards those who slowed down with wisdom. Imagine this. A man in his late 70s wakes up to use the bathroom, moves too fast, and loses balance halfway through the hallway. That happened to Mr. Alvarez from Tampa. No health conditions, no warnings, just a bruised hip and 6 weeks of recovery that left him afraid to move alone again. A well-being for seniors starts with respecting the transitions, the shift from rest to motion, from night to day. That respect begins, believe it or not, still lying in bed. So here's the wiser move. After waking, remain still for a minute. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Gently turn your head side to side. Stretch your arms like you used to as a child. Then, sit up slowly, legs over the side of the bed, and take another deep breath. Give your body permission to greet the day gently. It's a small habit that offers big returns, more balance, more oxygen to the brain, and less risk of disorientation. These tips for a longer life sound simple, but they're often overlooked. Too many elderly folks confuse routine with safety. I've done it this way all my life, they say. But life after 70 isn't about doing what you've always done. It's about doing what keeps you well now. That's a shift in thinking that separates decline from longevity. Think of your body like an old radio. You don't blast the volume first thing. You turn the dial slowly, let it warm up. The same goes for your nervous system, your circulation, your joints. Treat them with that kind of reverence. And just when the body has finally caught up, many reach for their usual drink of choice. It's a ritual, they say. But what if that very ritual, that comforting cup, is quietly working against them? What if that first sip, done in the name of energy, is actually stirring up the wrong kind of awakening? We'll talk about that next. He poured it like he always did, black, steaming, and strong enough to wake the dead. That first cup of coffee, right after getting out of bed, had been his tradition for decades. Gets my motor running, he used to say. But what he didn't know was that his motor was running on empty, and that caffeine was hitting his system like a punch to the gut. Literally. For senior citizens, drinking acidic, caffeinated beverages on an empty stomach is more than a bad habit. It's a silent assault on organs already working overtime. In old age, the stomach lining becomes more sensitive. The natural acid production can decrease, but paradoxically, it's also more vulnerable to irritation. A cup of strong coffee, or even acidic fruit juices like orange or pineapple, can spike stomach acid unpredictably. For someone in their 70s, that means heartburn, acid reflux, or worse, chronic gastritis. One woman I spoke with had taken pride in starting each day with grapefruit juice, until her doctor told her it was eroding her stomach lining. She was shocked, but that's just the beginning. That jolt of caffeine doesn't just affect the gut. It messes with blood pressure and hydration too. For the elderly, blood pressure often fluctuates wildly in the morning. Adding a stimulant to the mix can cause heart palpitations, dizziness, and anxiety that gets brushed off as just waking up slow. It's not slow. It's your body sending distress signals. That drink you love might be setting the tone for a day filled with fatigue, not energy. So what's the wiser alternative? Start with warm water. Yes, warm. Add a slice of cucumber or a few drops of lemon if you'd like. Herbal teas like chamomile, rooibos, or ginger are excellent choices for senior health. They're soothing, support digestion, and hydrate without the crash. If you're someone who craves flavor, try warm apple cider vinegar diluted with water and a touch of honey. It balances pH and supports your gut. These small changes offer real tips for a longer life. Remember, what you consume first thing in the morning sends a message to every cell in your body. Is it, "We're safe, let's thrive," or is it, "Brace for impact"? That message matters more than ever in this stage of life. Healthy aging isn't about depriving yourself. It's about being smarter than your old habits. You're not giving up coffee forever, but delaying it by 30 to 60 minutes after eating can make all the difference. And who wouldn't trade a habit for more balance, clarity, and energy? But let's imagine you've got your drink sorted out. You're feeling a little better already. So, you take those first few steps, and that's where the next hidden danger lurks. It's not in what you drink, but how you walk. The house was still. He had just finished his morning drink and decided to head toward the bathroom. No rush, no panic, just a casual walk. But something was off. His foot dragged slightly, and before he could correct himself, the corner of a rug caught his toe. Down he went. No warning, no time to grab onto anything. Just a sudden, terrifying fall that changed everything. For senior citizens, it's often not illness but small, silent moments like this that derail the path of healthy aging. You see, in old age, the body doesn't respond as quickly as it used to. Muscles are stiffer, reflexes slower, and balance isn't automatic anymore. The issue isn't walking, it's walking too soon. Getting out of bed and immediately strolling around without warming up the body is like trying to drive a car without defrosting the windshield. You can do it, but it's risky. Your body needs to wake up gradually, especially the legs, ankles, and inner ear, which all play a role in keeping you upright. Here's what happens. Overnight, blood pools in your lower extremities. When you stand up too fast and start moving, it takes a few moments for circulation to stabilize. If you begin walking before that happens, your brain may not get enough oxygen, leading to dizziness or disorientation. And those first few steps in silence, that's often when the damage is done. A well-being for seniors begins not just with movement, but with mindful movement. That's the difference between confidence and crisis. So here's a practical routine to try. After sitting on the bed's edge, tap your heels on the floor for 30 seconds. Rotate your ankles, flex your knees, and do 5 slow shoulder rolls. Then, stand up slowly and hold on to something stable. Only when you feel steady should you take your first steps. These tips for a longer life don't require money or medication, just a little awareness and intention. They prepare your nervous system and muscles for safe action. I once met a retired teacher named Mrs. Donnelly who had a ritual she swore by. 5 minutes of slow pacing back and forth in her room, barefoot, focusing on each step like a meditation. After falling once, she made this her non-negotiable. In her words, "I don't walk to get somewhere. I walk to make sure I can get somewhere." That mindset is gold for the elderly. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. It's choosing presence over speed, safety over routine. And yet, not all dangers come from motion. Sometimes, they come through sound. Specifically, the first voice we hear. A phone call, a message, a social media alert. These things might seem harmless. But what if they were stealing your peace before the day even had a chance to begin? The phone buzzed. He hadn't even finished stretching yet. It was a message from his daughter. "Dad, I need you to call me ASAP." His heart rate jumped. Was something wrong? Did someone get hurt? Within seconds, his mind was racing, his body tense. What started as a peaceful morning quickly turned into a storm of worry. For many senior citizens, the first voice or notification of the day doesn't bring joy, it brings stress. And that stress, whether emotional or digital, sets the stage for a turbulent day. What most elderly folks don't realize is that cortisol, the stress hormone, spikes naturally in the morning. It's part of the body's way of waking up. But when that natural spike is aggravated by bad news, pressure, or negativity, it becomes toxic. That one phone call, that one guilt-laden voicemail, can hijack your mood, raise your blood pressure, and zap your energy before you even brush your teeth. Healthy aging requires not just physical care, but emotional boundaries. Think about it. How often do you check your phone before checking in with yourself? It might seem small, but that habit builds a pattern. I once coached a gentleman in his 80s who started his day by reading political news and checking bills. Within 10 minutes, he was already agitated. We replaced that with morning music, a gratitude journal, and 10 minutes of fresh air. 3 weeks later, he said, "I didn't realize how heavy my mornings were until I lifted that weight." That's well-being for seniors in action. The first voice you hear in the day matters. It can be a calm affirmation, a spiritual message, a laugh from an old comedy show, or a soothing audiobook. Not a complaint, not a demand, not a bank alert. Choose what you absorb. You can even set your phone to do not disturb until 9 a.m., giving yourself sacred space. Those small protective barriers are tips for a longer life, and they protect your joy as much as your health. Old age is not about isolation, it's about intention. You have every right to help your family, to be involved, to stay connected, but you also have the right to wake up gently on your own terms. You are not an emergency hotline. You're a human being who deserves peace before pressure. When your energy is protected, you can give from a place of abundance, not depletion. That's a gift to everyone around you, including yourself. And while emotional stress is draining, physical stress can be just as sneaky, especially when it comes disguised as a perfect breakfast. A plate that looks harmless, but could be quietly aging you from the inside out. The toast was golden, the coffee warm, and the fruit looked fresh and vibrant. To him, it felt like a balanced, classic breakfast. He'd had it every day for decades, 2 slices of white bread with margarine, orange juice, and sometimes a sweet cereal just for fun. It looked like something straight from a commercial. But what he didn't see was how that very meal, so familiar and comforting, was slowly accelerating inflammation and fatigue in his aging body. For many senior citizens, this breakfast is more trap than treat. Let's break it down. White bread turns into sugar almost instantly in the bloodstream. Margarine, often loaded with trans fats, promotes silent inflammation. That glass of juice, it's a sugar bomb with no fiber to slow it down. Together, they trigger insulin spikes, energy crashes, and long-term damage to the blood vessels. In old age, these spikes can feel like sudden exhaustion, mental fog, or even agitation. It's not just getting older, it's your breakfast betraying you. Healthy aging begins with blood sugar control, and breakfast is your first chance each day to get it right. I met a retired nurse who switched from toast to steel-cut oats with cinnamon and walnuts. Within 2 weeks, her afternoon crashes disappeared. She said, "I used to think being tired all day was normal. Turns out, I was just feeding the tired." That's the power of informed eating. And it's not about dieting. It's about upgrading your tools for longevity and vitality. Here's a better breakfast formula for the elderly. Think protein, fiber, and healthy fats. Try a veggie omelet with avocado, or Greek yogurt with chia seeds and berries. Even a smoothie with spinach, flaxseed, banana, and almond butter can fuel your morning without triggering inflammation. These simple changes support digestion, brain health, and steady energy. all key pillars of well-being for seniors. They keep the body resilient instead of reactive. The mistake many make is confusing familiar with safe. Just because you've eaten it for 40 years doesn't mean it's helping you now. Senior health requires rethinking habits that no longer serve you. That perfect breakfast? It might feel nostalgic, but if it's shortening your breath, tightening your joints, or clouding your thoughts, it's not perfect at all. The good news is, small swaps can lead to big gains in clarity, comfort, and long-term health. And while some foods quietly damage you from within, sometimes the real danger isn't what's on your plate. It's what you ignore. That subtle signal your body gives in the early hours. That whisper of discomfort. That moment you brushed off when you should have listened. It started with a flicker, just a moment of blurred vision when he looked at the morning paper. He blinked a few times, chalked it up to sleepiness, and moved on. Then came a flutter in his chest, strange but short-lived. It's nothing, he told himself. But that nothing was his body whispering that something wasn't right. For many elderly individuals, the first hour of the day carries quiet warnings. Not alarms, whispers. And too often, those whispers are ignored until they turn into sirens. Senior citizens tend to minimize symptoms. It's understandable. They don't want to worry family, or worse, feel like a burden. But that mindset can be dangerous. A moment of dizziness, a numb hand, or a slight tremble might seem harmless. Yet these subtle signs can be early warnings of serious issues, strokes, heart irregularities, or neurological events. Healthy aging is not just about staying active, it's about listening deeply to the body's subtle language. I knew a gentleman who woke up with a mild jaw discomfort. He brushed it off, took his morning walk, and collapsed 2 hours later. It was a heart attack in slow motion. The doctor told him afterward, "Your body was begging for attention. You just didn't hear it." That story stuck with me. Because it's not rare. It's common. Elderly bodies are wise. They send warnings. The problem is, we're too used to ignoring them. Well-being for seniors starts with listening. So how can you tell when to act? Start by keeping a morning journal. Note anything unusual: headaches, vision changes, weakness, irregular heartbeat. Review it weekly. Patterns will emerge. Don't wait for things to get worse. If something feels off, call a doctor. You're not being dramatic. You're being proactive. These tips for a longer life aren't just about walking or eating better. They're about early detection and timely response. Old age doesn't mean helplessness. It means mastering your own health intelligence, empowering yourself to speak up. The strongest elders I've met aren't the ones who hide pain. They're the ones who face it head on. They know that living well past 70 isn't about being invincible. It's about being attentive, curious, and courageous. That's where true senior health begins, in the decision to stop brushing things aside. So now, you've seen the hidden traps, the mistakes no one talks about, and maybe, just maybe, you've recognized some of them in your own mornings. But awareness is power, and with power comes the opportunity to change. Now let me ask you, how many of these habits have quietly made their way into your mornings? 1, 3, all of them. And more importantly, how long have you been brushing them off as just getting older? You see, it's not about being perfect. It's about being aware. Every morning gives you a new chance to protect your body, guard your energy, and live with more intention. And yes, avoiding a simple mistake can add healthy years to your life. So what will you do tomorrow morning? Will you rush out of bed like nothing's changed? Will you grab that same acidic drink out of habit? Or will you pause, breathe, and remember everything we've talked about here today? Because now you know better. And when you know better, you can age better. That's not just a nice phrase. That's the truth behind every story of graceful longevity I've ever heard. I created this video to give you more than just advice. I wanted to give you power. The kind of power that lives in small choices, practiced daily, with care and wisdom. And I want to ask you, which one of these changes will you try first? Let me know in the comments. Tell me what surprised you most. And share this with someone you care about, because these small adjustments could change their life too. If you've made it this far, you're not just watching a video, you're investing in your future. That means you're part of a community of senior citizens who want more than just getting by. You want clarity, strength, peace, and a better tomorrow. And that makes me proud to have you here. So don't leave without joining us. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stay with me as we uncover even more secrets to healthy aging, senior health, and well-being for seniors. Because your best years might just be ahead.